A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 161st episode of Together for Education webinars brought to you by Notebook. Almost 2 years ago, in April 2020, when the pandemic had just set in and schools had closed down, we at Notebook felt it was our duty to set up a platform for educators to connect meaningfully on, discussing problems they were facing with the rising need of digital education and online learning, and arrive at common solutions. Today, 161 episodes later, this platform has grown much bigger than we could have ever anticipated, all thanks to your love and support. We have discussed extremely curricular topics here, like digital learning, NEP and assessments, extracurricular topics like sports and theatre, topics like school finance, and even evolved topics like mental health. In the year 2021, artist Rubal Nagi undertook to paint 43,000 of Dharavi's slum dwellings. This initiative, named Misal Mumbai, has transformed the drab slum of Dharavi to a living, breathing work of art. However, more importantly, it has seen to have an uplifting effect on the people there. What decades of public works engineering and thousands of medical professionals could not achieve until that point, art could. This is far from an isolated incident. Around the country, as we are all moving back to normalcy after a tryst with a pandemic, the likes of which had never been seen before in living memory, we know better than ever before that we have perhaps laid too much of emphasis on our STEM orientation. Perhaps arts, creativity, and social sciences needed a little more focus from our end. Today, we are going to discuss how our education system is dealing with this renewal of our faith in arts education. The first speaker for us today is Mr. Philip Burrett. Mr. Burrett retired as the Deputy Headmaster from the illustrious Doon School in Dehradun after 44 years of serving in education across various institutions. Mr. Burrett served the Doon School as Housemaster, Head of Department, Dean of Activities, Dean of Student Welfare, Deputy Headmaster, Second Master, and Acting Headmaster with great distinction. He also carried out a visioning exercise for the Doon School in the year 2011 through an in-depth study of a number of British public schools and various schools in the US. Mr. Burrett qualified as a leadership trainer at Wellington College, UK in the year 2000. He is also an athlete, an adventurer, and a naturalist. And we at Notebook are privileged to have Mr. Burrett as our senior advisor. Sir, thank you so much for sparing the time to be here today. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Bayu. I hope I'm audible.
Perfectly, sir.
Thank you so much for that introduction, and a very good evening to you and Abhishek and Achin, Gagori, Meghna, our esteemed panelists, all our guests, and the other Notebook workers in Calcutta. You must pardon me if I broaden this topic and read arts as including the humanities as well. There are three commonly held misbeliefs, I think, that parents and educators hold, which I would wish to challenge. One is that, we are not left or right-brained. The right-sided is the emotional, language, creative, feminine side. And the left side is looked upon as the logical, rational, mathematical, masculine side. And we are not either or. I think most of us have a predetermined dominant side, but I think we are both left and right-brained. The second is that interest is equated to aptitude, which I think is wrong, which is by which I mean that you might be good at something, a subject or an interest, but you may not like, you may not like it. On the contrary, you may love something that you are not good at. I've seen a lot of people who love photography, but they just don't have the aptitude. So it is wrong to equate aptitude with interest. And the third misbelief is that the best jobs are only for those people who do commerce and sciences, and humanities is a waste of time. Of course, in the 60s and 70s, when I was in school, medicine, engineering, was for everyone. Everyone rushed in for there. And then there was a glut of engineers and doctors. And then in the 80s and 90s, and commerce and accounts and economics became so important, the MBA was the big. Now I do see a trend towards the liberal arts, towards law, arts, advertising, mass media, the performing arts, writing, script writing, drama, acting, community service. I noticed definitely a lot of our school leavers moved into liberal arts education. I think the biggest disservice that we do to our children and to schooling is to very early compartmentalize students into streams. You're either an art stream or a science stream or a humanities stream. And you straitjacket these students. And very often, somebody who's doing sciences or humanity or commerce has done his last history or geography lesson way back in class 9. And this is, I think, a great disservice. And I too was a victim of such a system where I might have made the top 1/3 of my class 10. And so I was offered science, which I gladly grabbed because I didn't want to be considered a duffer and do humanities. But I wish I had done humanities because I struggled through the sciences and eventually landed up being a teacher. And I taught a humanities subject for 44 years of my life. So, this whole arbitrary deciding in class 8 which stream that you're good at is, I think, a wrong thing. Now, there are many reasons why people do that. One is parental desires. That there could be a family of doctors or a family of engineers. And this, then everyone has to become a doctor or an engineer. And this leads to so much heartache, so much unhappiness and depression. Often students select the stream based on the strength of a school's faculty. And it's sad to say that sometimes a school does not have good faculty in the art subjects. And by which I mean just beyond art and drama and music, it's also, there are no good teachers in literature, for example, or history or geography. It's harder to find them. Also, many universities do not count art, music, and drama as a subject when they total up to find the average for the cutoffs. When you join universities, Delhi University, for example, doesn't take art into consideration, even though it might be the highest subject that you scored at. And so therefore, it discriminates against these subjects. This is sad because many schools cannot find good teachers, as I said, for modern government, psychology, history, geography, music, anthropology, economics, literature. And so therefore, students are forced into streams where you get the better faculty. Now, again, schools are, I think, making a big mistake of when they want students to only get 90% so that they can put their faces up on the billboards. When a student is not doing well in science, they push him into the humanities. It's almost like a punishment. You can't do science, go into the arts. It's like a punishment. And as if it's easy to do science. As if it's easy to do humanities. So they push them into subjects that they don't want as a punishment. The other thing is, as we noticed in the COVID year, 2020, when many schools were facing a financial crunch, what did they do? They started retrenching the arts teachers, the PE teachers, the teachers who they thought could be dispensed with. And they kept on with the science and the commerce teachers. This again was disparaging. The third thing is that schools often pay lip service to their art departments and music departments and drama departments. They hire local coaches and artists who may not know how to teach the subject. They may be good artists, good musicians, but they are not good teachers. And so they pay lip service to these departments. I personally don't feel that schools are places that prepare students for a future job. I'm very much against this. I think that schools are there to help students discover themselves, discover who they really are, what they love to do, how to develop their talents. I enjoy a holistic education. And I think children should have a childhood, and college can come much later. Jobs can come much later. And I think this is where the international examinations were quick to seize on this arbitrary division of subjects. If you look at the hexagon of the IB, it offers maths at any of the 3 levels. It offers A science, it offers one first language, it offers a second language, you can do Spanish, German, Hindi. It also offers one humanities. And the 6th subject is an arts, yoga, physical education, drama, public speaking. So if you take one subject from the 6, it gives you a holistic all-round framework. But what happens is that in case you want to be an engineer, you have to ask for special permission, and instead of doing a broad-based curriculum, you are forced to do chemistry, physics, and maths so early in life. And I would love to see a doctor who's also studied English literature, or also a painter or a writer who knows physics. I know a captain of a merchant navy ship who, apart from being an engineer, was an expert, was a world authority on classical art. I know a Buddhist scholar who passed out from my school who could have done a MSc in physics because he was very interested in physics as well, but he took Buddhist studies at Chicago University. And I had a friend who did an MA in history at Delhi University, came and taught at the Doon School, and went on to do an MBA at the Asian Institute of Management in Manila, and now is a banker with Goldman Sachs, New York. So he's a history man who lands up being a banker. And I think, all your IAS officers who've done humanities subjects, what are they? I mean, if there's a doctor or an engineer who becomes an IAS officer, how is he using his engineering or medical degree? Talking about doctors who are writers, I was doing a little research. There's a huge list of doctors, including many Indians, who are excellent writers, but are practicing medical, doctors. Like there is Abraham Verghese, there's Amritesh Sathwik, there's Rahul Jandial, Atul Gandwade, of course, there's Robin Cook, Khalid Hosseini, Siddharth Mukherjee, Paul Kalinathi, and Sandeep Johar. These are people who've got a medical degree and are writers. Now, in British public schools, geography is still a very, very important subject. But how many Indian students offer geography at the class 12 level? The problem is that when you want to be an engineer here, you have to very early start the physics, chemistry, math stream, and which means history, economics, music, languages is out of the window. There's no place for it. I think a combination of the sciences and the arts creates a student that is well-read, creative, who has a scientific temper, and there's no dichotomy in choosing art along with the science. So as Subayu put it early, the STEM is dead. You've got to have STEAM. You've got to have much more arts into a curriculum. Now, I would be utterly bored to death in the company of a banker or a commerce type of student who's only done accounts and commerce. He will make no conversation that I would be interested in. He has not read because he just hasn't got that extra side to him, that other facet, which comes through reading arts, which comes through doing music or literature. Now, as I said earlier, the liberal arts degrees are still very important. In Oxford University, the most popular degree is PPE, or the Politics, Philosophy, and Economics. And when you look at the most popular undergrad courses in the USA today, in order, it's business, health professional, social sciences and humanities, psychology, engineering comes next, then education, and bachelors of computer science. In England, the most popular courses are business, natural sciences, engineering and technology, medicine, but law, social sciences, sports science, media and communication, arts, hospitality, and tourism. In fact, I was reading an article the other day which talks about the highest paid Goldman Sachs banker in the US who's got a postgraduate degree in sports science from Loughborough University. Now, yes, while the world is headed to STEM, I think the future of the world is in IT, remote intelligence, robotics, artificial intelligence. But I think schools have to stress on the arts and pay a little more than lip service. I'd also like to say that unlike the advice I was given in school, which is pick a job and stick to it because Rolling Stones gather no moss, I think if you look at Achin or even look at Shubayu, they have had more than 4 jobs so far in their career, and they could even have 2 more jobs. Today's advice is today's children will have at least 5 to 6 careers in their lives, and they will shift from one to the other. And therefore, it's better to have a broad-based understanding of arts and sciences. What is the advantage of an arts education? A humanities education preserves the great accomplishments of the past, provides insight into an understanding of the world we live in, and provides the tools to imagine the future. It is through a humanities education that students are empowered to make moral, spiritual, and intellectual sense of their world. By offering art education in the school system, children get a chance to stimulate their imaginations as well as their cognitive and problem-solving skills. After they have to think through how they're going to make their imagined creations real. Art helps children understand other subjects more clearly. From maths to science, languages, arts, and geography, art nurtures inventiveness, and it engages children in a process that aids in the development of self-esteem, self-discipline, cooperation, and motivation. In a 2019 research report from the acclaimed Mellon Foundation addressed the overall value of the humanities, stating that they're useful to society in the preservation and curation of culture, and also that the humanities contributes to the maintenance and health of a democracy via teaching skills of critical reasoning, debate, and evaluation of ideas. I think being a part of a culture gives us an innate sense of the history, customs, and values of our own social group. And I also think that humanities encompasses the full range of human thought and creativity, including history, literature, languages, religion, philosophy, music. These are all very, very important for a broad-based education. I'd also like to end by saying that, when I look back to my school days, I had the greatest fun when art or music or drama class came along with the physical education. It just broke the monotony of your heavy physics, chemistry, and literature, whatever. But I think children need to have this little downtime in a otherwise very heavy academic day. A lot of children are turning to careers from their hobbies or from what they call the lesser important subjects. Art and drama sometimes and music are referred to as the lesser subjects, which is wrong. I think a lot of them are turning into ads or working in the media or working for television, and they choose these careers not from their major subject, but from their what they call the minor subject. And I have to very proudly say that when I finished my teaching at Doon School, we had a lot of emphasis put on arts education. We had probably the largest art school in the country. We had a building that was a double-story building, totally dedicated to all the arts, from digital art to fine arts to batik to printing to there was sculpture, there was pottery, and our pottery was glazed pottery. It was baked in school. We could have exhibitions, that would turn people's heads. We had art teachers. We had a faculty of 10 art teachers. Most of them we chose from Shanti Niketan. We actually went down and interviewed people from the Shanti Niketan University. We had a superb arts and music department. And on a Sunday or any holiday or even after class time, the music school was a separate building and the art school a separate building. It hummed with activity. It hummed with pleasure. It hummed with people who, I don't want to go into all the people that we've created, all the famous musicians we've created, or the artists we've created, but the school laid special emphasis on art. Jatin Das was in and out of school. We had the famous Sudhir Khashtagi was the art teacher in school, and Mr. Rahman came to school and actually did a live show for us. Hussein, sorry, he did a live show for us. So the school is not devoid of some of the big names in art. With that, I want to just turn this over back to Shubhayu. I hope I have made some sense and thrown some emphasis on the importance of art and humanities in curriculum today. Thank you, Shubhayu, very much. Over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Like every week, we all stand immensely to benefit from the phenomenal exposure that you've had. Thank you also for increasing the limits of this discussion from what could be considered as fine art and introducing the other humanities subjects. And yes, sir, I completely agree that the discussion around arts education need to involve arts in every shape and form. Also, sir, on that list of people who were physicians turned authors, notable by omission was my favorite author, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. He actually started off as a physician in the British Army, and Dr. Watson, Sherlock Holmes' friend and confidant, is somewhat styled after his own self.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
With that little bit of trivia, we'll move on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Achin Bhattacharyya. Achin is the founder and CEO at Notebook. A chartered accountant by training, Achin was a director at Deloitte prior to starting Notebook. He has worked in India and abroad in various senior capacities in GE, PwC, KPMG, and Deloitte. Achin is a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales, a fellow of the ICAI, and a member of CPA Australia and CPA Ireland. He is also the recipient of the prestigious Indian Achievers Award. An avid reader and a passionate traveler, Achin has keen interests in economics, history, literature, and philosophy. He is a regular speaker at various forums and chambers of commerce, and also contributes articles to numerous publications regularly. He is also on the board of some of the most renowned corporates and contributes significantly to their brand strategies. Achin, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Shiva, am I audible?
Loud and clear.
I once again welcome all of you to today's session. Now, what is art? Art is the response of man's creative soul to the call of the real. And this was said by none other than Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore. I think very beautifully it summarizes in 2 lines. And when we discuss about art education, I remember a very famous saying, which says that music is what feelings sound like. Now, similarly, I believe this applies to other art forms as well. Movement manifests emotion. Voice modulation gives way to the inner self. Drawing reveals the inner layers of the mind. Sculpture mirrors the inner self. This is art education. This is why we need art education. Now, art education is the area of learning that is based upon, if we try to look at 2 major categories. First and foremost, of course, visual and tangible art, and second, performing arts. Now, when we discuss about visual arts, for instance, an artist using paper, canvas, clay, metal, paint, which can be molded or transformed to create some physical or art object. So, of course, things like drawing, painting, sculpture, design, and again, design, be it in terms of jewelry design, pottery, fabrics, weaving, and design applied to more practical fields such as commercial graphics or maybe home furnishing. Now, contemporary topics include photography, video, of course, movies, computer art. There's an element of creative element in each of this. And when we discuss about performing arts, where the artist uses his or her own self, body, face, and presence as a medium, it is something which is performed, seen, and heard. Now, different types of performing art, which are commonly accepted and understood, for instance, be it theater, music, dance, puppetry. Now, artists who participate in performing arts in front of an audience are called performers. Now, they include, again, a very, very wider gamut, be it actors, comedians, dancers, magicians, musicians, singers, puppeteers. The important aspect is that performance need not always be through formal learning. And this is true because if you look at a country like ours, we all know that India is a land of too many diverse cultures. The rich and all-embracing, nature of the country has always had a comprehensive approach to life and created a blissful environment in which a child participates in many artistic activities in day-to-day life, even beyond classroom learning, even beyond formal structured learning, which is central to education and self-development. And every major event, every celebration in a family, be it the birth of a child, and even if you look at olden times, going to the Gurukul, or be it a marriage in the house, sacred thread ceremony, festivals, and again, festivals which are connected with seasons, with day-to-day work, like for instance, sowing and harvest celebrations. So each of this, there's so many art forms in our culture, and art is always present in the conscious and subconscious mind. Now, if you look at this, and if you also try to understand that how a celebration of a festival, helps understand varied facets of our culture. For example, today, if you look at any festival, for instance, if you look at Punjab, where wheat, as we all know, is the main winter crop, which is sown in October and harvested somewhere around March or April. Now, in January, the fields come up with the promise of a golden harvest, and farmers celebrate Lohri during this rest period before the cutting and gathering of crops. Now, this is more than just a festival. It is an example of way of life. The winters ending during this time, Earth starts moving towards the sun, marking the auspicious period of Uttarayan. Now, there's various activities, people offering peanuts, revdi, flour, butter, various foods, religious worships happening. But today, if you look at what is it that a child learns out of a festival, if properly explained, first and foremost, the changing season. Second, the importance of agriculture. Third, information when the crop wheat is sown and harvested. Fourth, what foods like till, peanut, etc. is good to be consumed in winters, and why so? And most important, importance of community celebration, sharing of joy and sorrows, and so on. Again, I would like to quote the great poet Rabindranath Tagore, who observed about his life, and in his words, we wrote, we sang, we acted, and we poured ourselves out on every side. There's tremendous excitement and cultural richness. Such is an Indian festival, and the kind of learning it brings in naturally. Now, if you look at importance of art education at various levels, for instance, if you look at elementary level, now art undoubtedly allows the children to develop their own free expression of what they are and how they feel. It allows them to learn in a more creative way than the structured lessons, because there's no fear of being wrong. I think that's the most important part. Here, they're actually allowed to mess around without being frowned upon. It enhances the level of things like beat self-analysis, self-esteem, and also self-discipline. Such children stay more motivated and cooperate more readily than their peers. It develops practical aptitude and facilitates thinking. And also the fact that it's so all-encompassing, because it doesn't distinguish based on any particular criteria, be it gender, color, nothing matters, religion, nothing matters. Even the boundaries of states or nation doesn't matter. Even language doesn't matter, because art has a language of its own. Not only does it cultivate rich tastes and appreciation of beauty, it also directs the inner energies into more creative abilities. Now, and also what happens is it teaches a child that it's not necessary to raise his or her voice to communicate a point. Expression of art form is enough to cause revolution in the masses, enough to inspire millions. It is a wonderful tool to channelize energies to positive expression. I remember a quote by Aristotle, who said, the aim of art is to represent not the outward appearance of things, but their inward significance. Even if you look at the writings of John Dewey, who grounded his political philosophy of education in an admiration of human plasticity, the ability of young people to develop themselves in ways which really surprise the elders. And that's the most important part of plasticity. So naturally, if you look at this, and if you want our children to develop independent judgment, develop an element of innovation, originality, creativity, the importance of art is can never ever be ignored. So even if you look at, for instance, Barsa was discussing about the tech sector. If you look at the ever expanding tech sector and the fact that it is now producing so much of career opportunities in fields, undoubtedly, be it project management or recruitment, human relation. But then again, one most important thing is that there are many skills which are taught in humanities or in creative art forms that are so important and so necessary for the tech sector as well to do well. Because to thrive in these areas, be it areas of human relationship, which are important in any sector, any business, any industry, importance in terms of not only analyzing data, but coming up with unique out-of-the-box solution. So to thrive in these areas, what is very important is that one must be able to communicate effectively and also read subtle social and emotional cues, understand how consumer preference is changing, make persuasive arguments, adapt very quickly to very fluid environments, interpret new forms of information while translating them into a very compelling narrative, and anticipate the challenges, the roadblocks, the obstacles, and opportunities even before they rise. Now, programs like English or history undoubtedly prepares, and as going through some literature as well, which argues very strongly that the demands of this newly emerging sector, which has been termed in various of these articles as the Rappo sector, students who are coming from humanities background, subjects like literature or history, they are better equipped. Now, it may not automatically land up in a career, but undoubtedly, as far as these building blocks are concerned, it helps. Now, I was going through an autobiographical novel. I think many of you must have, I'm sure, read it at some point of time. A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. It is a 1943 autobiographical novel about growing up poor in the early 20th century. In studying in a public school that the heroine attends. But there's a golden glory lasting half an hour each week when the teacher, Mr. Morton, came to teach music. So that half an hour every week was the only respite, only saving grace, the only thing that we could look forward to. The teacher taught classical music, and the book continues. And the way it has been described is marvelous. I think Birds had referred to it that one period or one particular thing that the children really look up to for the entire week. And arts education in schools has actually introduced many children who at later point of time have become great painters, musicians, and helped them to their first steps, first dance steps, or tentative musical endeavors. So those opportunities have really helped, and it can actually that bright spot that it creates, the joy that it brings in, actually helps in terms of other aspects as well, studying other subjects, keeping the child more motivated, etc. Now, however, the unfortunate part is that around the world, these subjects are often under threat. And again, I'm discussing more from a global perspective. Because whenever we discuss about budget cuts, or we discuss about the demands of academic testing and accountability, the first thing that comes to our mind, these subjects often suffer from any kind of budget cuts, rationing, etc. But it's very unfortunate considering the fact that the importance of these subjects and how much they actually help in terms of building a child's entire thought process. Now, the other important aspect that I believe is that when we discuss about technology and we discuss about, of course, technology has played a very important role in last, especially during last 2 decades, I'll say 2-3 decades. But then again, technology also requires human input. In his groundbreaking work, Capital in the 21st Century, Thomas Piketty predicted that much of the economic growth we can expect to see before the end of 2025 will flow from advances in computing, artificial intelligence, data, and robotics. Now, this progress also brings concerns about aspects like income inequality, vocational losses. But I think the other important aspect is that these examples fail to present a more broader and realistic picture. I was reading through some reports published by MIT professor in an article called "Good Job Strategy," and very nicely it was documented and published, which says that even the most powerful systems with the most advanced artificial intelligence will require human inputs and judgment. A purely technological approach to work can never succeed. Because at the end of the day, if the approach is purely technological without any human intervention, it is bound to collapse. The civilization is bound to collapse. So the relevance and importance of human element can never be ignored. Now, artificial intelligence also cannot exist without the context of human experience to inform it. Because cognitive scientists refer to this discrepancy as the availability bias. People tend to place, because it is very common that people tend to place greater emphasis on information that's easy to come by. Information that we have in front of us in a data or a spreadsheet. But the intangibles, which are comparatively more difficult to ascertain. But like, for example, the realities involved in everyday interaction, changing consumer preference, which is so dynamic. These things affect the operation of a business tremendously. So it cannot be only based on past data, which somebody has entered in an Excel sheet. It's equally important to understand the softer aspects. So as we scramble to keep pace with technology and narrow our educational focus on STEM skills only, it's easy to neglect the role that creativity plays. But honestly speaking, coming up with the next big idea demands the inclusion of the dreamers, people who can dare to dream, philosophers with deep understanding of human nature, artists and creative mind behind the science. So I think these are some thoughts that I wanted to share with all of you. I thank all of you for giving me a very patient hearing. Our Burrett sir gave us a great opening. And we have a wonderful panel here today. And I really look forward to hear from them on this very important topic. Over to you, Suman.
Thank you, Achin. Thank you for that wonderful discussion and taking us through those amazing examples. Ladies and gentlemen, as Achin mentioned, we have a fantastic panel lined up for you. But before we go on to the panel discussion, here's a little bit about us here at Notebook. We at Notebook are an EdTech platform. We create short videos pertaining to the school curriculum. Now, these videos work in two ways. One is when you as a teacher are about to start a new topic or have a discussion in the classroom, whether it's an online class or offline class. You can play these short videos as a way of visually introducing the topic to your students. These videos, barely 6 to 10 minutes in duration, offer the perfect visual aid for the students to visualize whatever you're going to teach next. On the other side, the student has access to the same videos at home, whether it's on a laptop or a smartphone or whatever device they have. They can access Notebook, get access to those videos that you are using in class, and they can watch them over and over again until they develop a great understanding of the topics that you're teaching. What I'm going to do now is play you a mashup of some short Notebook snippets so that you know what is the kind of content that I'm talking about.
नमस्ते बच्चों, नोटबुक में आपका स्वागत है। इस नए वीडियो को आपके सामने प्रस्तुत करते हुए हमें बेहद खुशी हो रही है। हमारा उद्देश्य है परंपरागत शिक्षा को आधुनिक तरीके से पेश करना, ताकि हमारी ये नई पीढ़ी या आप सभी कहीं भी कभी भी इसे आसानी से पढ़ सकें।
A sentence is a cluster of words or phrases joined together to convey complete sense, having two main parts, the subject and the predicate. If we want to classify sentences by their structure, then they are of three types: simple, compound, and complex.
Let L be the slant height of the frustum. L is equal to root over R2 minus R1 whole square plus 8 square, which is equal to root over 12 minus 7 whole square plus 9 square.
उनकी दंतुरित मुस्कान सभी का मन मोह लेती है। आज हमारा विषय है बाबा नागार्जुन की चर्चित कविता यह दंतुरित मुस्कान। कविता पाठ के पूर्व कवि के जीवन और कृतित्व की चर्चा करते हैं। प्रगतिवादी काव्य धारा के प्रसिद्ध कवि नागार्जुन का जन्म 30 जून सन 1911 में तथा देहांत 5 नवंबर सन 1998 में हुआ था।
So when we look at images formed on reflective surfaces, it is a direct application of the law of reflection. The incident rays fall on the surface of the mirror only to be reflected back, forming an angle of incidence and reflection on the same plane and then reaching the eyes so that we are able to see them. This kind of reflection is called specular reflection.
On being thrown out by his landlord, he set fire to the house. He removed all his clothes and became invisible to escape the police. This act rendered him a homeless wanderer without clothes or money. Griffin happened to step in a patch of mud and left footprints as he walked along. These footprints without feet caught the attention of two boys. Griffin easily escaped them.
The poverty that the African Americans experienced is black poverty.
Ladies and gentlemen, those were snippets from some of the notebook videos. If you head over to our website, www.notebook.school, or visit our mobile apps for iOS and Android, you would find more than 10,000 such videos at your disposal. With that done, it is now my privilege to introduce the wonderful panel that we have lined up for you today. We are privileged to have with us Dr. Richa Prakash, who is the principal at Allenhouse Public School in Panki, Kanpur. She holds a doctorate in history. She has won numerous awards and recognitions. To name a few: the Crusader Award for contributing to learning during the pandemic as a school leader by Edumate.tv on 24th November, CBSE Center of Excellence Resource Trainer or Person for Prayagraj, awarded the Certificate of Honor as a guest speaker at the Global Wellness Summit, awarded at the Edu Leader Summit and Award Ceremony in November 2019, and was awarded with the Inspiring Educator Award by the Rock Sport Limited in July 2019. She herself says that she's an educator, learner, and a quester. She believes that we can learn each day and grow a little each day. It is through these small things, she says, that we begin to educate ourselves. Sharing her ideas helps her build a connection and a community of learners. Previous to her current assignment, she was the founder principal of the GD Goenka Public School in Firozabad and has already spent over 18 years now in the field of education. She believes in leading with empathy and distributive leadership to empower other educators and students to ideate, collate, and collaborate at different levels to leverage the possibilities of a better tomorrow. Ma'am, thank you so much for being here today. It's a privilege to have you. We also have with us Mr. Suman, an eminent educationalist and school administrator who started his career as a teacher from the MVM group. As a teacher, he has been awarded thrice as the most important effective teacher across the MVM group. He became the principal in the year 2005, and since then, he has been glorifying the post with all relevant contributions. He became the mentor and monitor of all CBSE schools in Kolkata region and served as an observer for conducting many of the CBSE organized All India exams like AIEEE and JEE mains. Apart from this, he's a good motivator, narrator, and a writer, and also recites poems regularly. He has been an inspiration for thousands of students. Sir, thank you so much for being here today. It's a privilege to have you. We also have with us Ms. Anuja Sharma, who is the principal of the DAV Model School, Sector 15, Chandigarh. She holds an MA Economics with Philosophy and a B.Ed, and a teaching experience spanning across 28 years. She worked as a lecturer in the government school, government college, Tanda, for 1 year. She was then a lecturer in the HMB College, Jalandhar, for 7 years, and a lecturer in Tech Samaj College for Women, Firozpur Cantonment, for 2 years. She then moved on to become the senior coordinator in Police DAV School, Jalandhar Cantonment, for 11 years, where she grew with the development of the school from the strength of 1,000 to 6,000 students over a period of 11 years. She also worked as the principal of the DAV Surajpur for 3 years and is presently working as the principal, as I said, of the DAV Model School, Chandigarh, since June 2015. She's also won many awards and her contributions have been recognized at multiple fora. She was conferred the coveted CBSE National Award for Principals 2019, has also won the awards of ISA by British Council, Gold Category Award by PGI MER, Avantika Shikshak Samman Award, and Award for Mentoring Scientific Literacy Resource Group Chandigarh for developing critical and creative literacy modules of PISA. She has been a contributor in many publications as a reviewer of books of CBSE and has been a resource person of CBSE on various topics. She organized Anganwadi trainings and made teaching modules for Chandigarh administration. She has been actively involved in organizing activities promoting NEP and has been involved in the pilot project of CBSE and local academic department. Ma'am, thank you so much for being here today. It's a privilege to have you. Let me now stop my screen share and switch on my camera. Once again, a very good evening, and thank you so much for being here. Again, absolute privilege to have all three of you. Dr. Prakash, if I may come to you first. Ma'am, would also request you to please unmute yourself. We are talking today about a renewal of arts education in India. And this comes after years of being geared towards STEM, particularly that greatly fantasized world of engineering or medical. Do you still see us as largely STEM focused, or do you still see us as having this transformation where arts will again renew its place?
Well, thank you, Mr. Roy. And I'd like to thank the forum for giving this opportunity to, be heard by many. Hearing Mr. Burrett and Mr. Bhattacharyya was really getting to know so much more. I basically think, as they have already elaborated, that, arts is about our existence, so it is not separated from a human being. We've all heard about the Latin saying that, cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. So I think we could call it as like, creo ergo sum, I create, therefore I am. Because art is not, cannot see any renewal per se. Yes, I would say now there is a greater emphasis on arts in education. Now we are more vocal about it. And I think now in these times, we are more into the stream education. So as like Mr. Achin also said that, there is this entire thing about the diversity, which we talk about, especially in India. So, India is all about arts. The soft power of India is all about its arts, its customs, its music, its language, its religion. It's, there are so many things about which India is, its landscape. So, in fact, also NCRT has released a position paper very recently, which is talking about, reiterating that art education should be just simply stated as art education. Earlier, various commissions were there, Kothari Commission and others. They mentioned like, there was a concept of work experience rather than arts education. There was a concept of crafts and, fine arts. But now art as art for art's sake, and art should be, given that kind of emphasis. And NEP, of course, very, very clearly talks about it, where it says that, we'll have two approaches will be there, which is about integration of arts education with other subjects. And the second is art education as a subject in itself. And this kind of a limelight, of course, is now definitely, come on to liberal arts as well. So we are talking about all forms of art now. Performing arts is there. Then, you have arts in relation to junior levels, pre-primary and primary, storytelling, gaming. All this is all about art. So I think STEM are the days that are gone by. There is already a renewal and an, rather emphasis, a re-emphasis, stressing, as you have written, de-stressing on stemming. So it is like definitely a stress on stream now. And because arts is just a very natural expression of a human being. I mean, there is nothing, this communication we are doing right now, language is such a strong forte of art. I mean, the way we communicate is, how things become, how they transpire between two individuals. You have the cave dwellers, their works. So all of our being and existence cannot be, put into silos, which unfortunately it had been, and it, is going to be now decimated by this NEP, which definitely says that there shall be no silos, in humanities, science, and commerce. So in my times, we had just two silos, science and arts, and I was very proud of taking arts. And it resonated really, with me when Mr. Burrett said that, there is always that stress and pressure on individuals about, are you taking humanities? So, but then it was just something which came very naturally to me. And I always have felt that, as I mentioned that, it's got to be a creo ergo sum now. I create, therefore I am. All of it is so intertwined already. Design thinking, innovation, creativity, everything is so very subsumed in science, technology, engineering, maths. All of it is, an iPhone is an iPhone. Why? Because, it has a very typical design. There's something about it which is so fascinating. So I remember this quotation by this thing was spoken by Steve Jobs, when he said that, it's in the DNA of Apple itself, that it is not just technology. Technology here is, married to the humanities, married to liberal arts. It's just so subsumed. So I think, with the NEP laying so much of emphasis, and then CBSE has caught on very speedily, there is so much of emphasis now, and rightly so, to be able to show people that it has always been there. But now we are looking at its, presence, which is not subsumed, but it is, outwardly, more in the open. So I would say that, it is good to see the stream and the flow of the stream around.
Wonderfully put, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Anuja, ma'am, if I may come to you next. I understand that we agree that arts is kind of coming back. There's a lot of focus on arts that we have perhaps lost along the way. But if I had to put it on a spectrum, right, to being it perfectly where it should be, to it being where it is today, would you take a shot at rating where this is at?
Very well said by Dr. Richa, and so by Mr. Bhattacharyya, when he said that, there are various forms of arts which have been existing since our ancient times. And of course, when Mr. Phillips says that it brings in holistic growth for a child. So I strongly believe that art is existing within us. It's only getting, just conscious about it and making a child realize his potential. I firmly believe in one thing, that the skills at any level, if they are brought about for a child, he can really do amazingly well. So see, if we look back, I would call it, as you asked us to ponder over a point, that is it overratedly talked about, the integration of arts which is happening, or the art integrated integration in the existing curriculum? Is it an overrated thing? I honestly believe that it is, because it has always existed. So if you go back to the Gurukuls, the Gurukul was what Rabindranath Tagore spoke of, and what Gandhiji spoke of, the experiential learning. And see, Nai Talim says the experiential learning, it's so, only the forms are different. Everybody is talking of identifying the skills, and what Mr. Phillips was saying, having a self-awareness, what Richa ji just said it, that's knowing yourself. Now let's coming back to what is happening in the present and how we are integrating it with. So if I talk of the Gurukuls and then invasion of the Britishers and the Mughals, brought us to a point of, I won't call it a slavery. It's not a very a positive word to, resonate my thoughts, but I would say a time came when we were made to earn the degrees for our economic independence, because we lost our economic independence connected to our arts when the Gurukuls were brought down to a level when they never existed there. So we started calculating our art education with earning money. So somewhere it got lost into overrating our what we call these days STEM, medical or non-medical or some kind of areas where we could feel socially better off and we could earn better. And humanities, when it was just left to be played on Shehnais, on weddings, and everybody could not become Daler Mehndi, and everybody could not become Lataji, or everybody could become Bismillah Khan. So it was just kept to gharanas that time. So what happened? The education took a new leap to economic independence and buoyancy of economic independence. As was Mr. Philip also said, that down the lane, it had a journey, it had a science subjects, then it came to the commerce, it came to the economy, and now suddenly we are talking of an art. And if I think all of us, Dr. Richa would agree, Mr. Bhattacharya would agree, Mr. Philip would also agree to that the skills which we have earned since our childhood, we are all here together. We can speak well, we can communicate well, we have command on language. Maybe I'm an economist, Richa ji maybe seems like an artist, so we are on a same platform, the COE and me. The basic thing which is happening is a skill. And what is an art integration? It's a skill of being creative, critically thinking. And as we say, a brain has got two parts. So at one time, we were only talking of the analytical part of a child, and we have forgotten the problem solving and the creativity or out of box thinking of a child. So we are just trying to talk or bring a documentation where we can identify a child and make him conscious on a report card that yes, you have an art, but the art always existed there. It got discouraged somewhere because it was not brought on the report card. Today, we are all talking with each other because it has to be graded. Of the art integration, say 20% is a project, 20%. And do you remember, we made Diwali cards when Diwali would come and we will distribute among our friends? What was that? That was a Diwali project. We had it at our places. Our parents would say, you are spoiling Rangoli colors, or, you have wasted so many of pastel colors. Where are the pencil colors, And we would make some paper cuttings. We would do it. We were already into mathematics. We were cutting the triangles and the rectangles. We were making rangolis. Now all a teacher has to do is to put it into the pedagogy of the class. And I think as a teacher, I strongly believe as a teachers, we have to revisit our pedagogies. Nothing else. The art is existing around us. 360-degree holistic report card is ready for all of us. Dr. Richa would agree with me, right? It is already there. Now it's our duty to put it there. So what question you asked was, the STEM and the art education. Definitely, one thing is there. If you understand mathematics, there are sets and there is a subset. One set is an art, which talks of what we call it as a art of a visual art and the various kinds of arts. It is a pure art, what Richard was talking about, that in the curriculum integrated art, or art as a subject, or it is being integrated. So nothing is happening. One side is a curriculum, another side is an art. We just have to integrate it. You integrate it, we are already doing it. When we had CC happening with us, we were already doing it. group discussions, cooperation, coordination, communication, self-esteem, self-awareness. I think a child can develop a self-esteem even when he goes to play in a society park. Only thing is we have to connect with the stakeholders. I personally believe we have to orient parents to make their children joyful learners. We have to create happy classrooms. We have to create an environment in the school where science is equally important. I won't say science is not important. Myself being an economist, I know how I struggled with mathematics and physics and chemistry and biology when I was in class 10. But as I grew up to do my post-graduation, I topped in statistics, and I realized I could, since I developed through my art, and you would be happy to know that I'm a gold medalist in vocal honors. I topped university. So I could realize that music had brought so much of self-esteem, so much of self-awareness about myself, that I by the time I did my postgrad in economics, I said, yes, I can do anything and everything, because hard work can bring it around. So I had realized, I was aware of myself that, yes, I can do it. And that esteem was key. Now I've taken up economics, I have to prove myself. 90% of our students are not able to actualize their potentiality, because they lack their awareness and they lack, self-esteem, which gets marred somewhere. What Mr. Philip was talking about. Why to select the subject in class grade 9 or 8? तुम science ले रहे हो कि maths ले रहे हो, बच्चे से तो 2 2s are 4 नहीं हो पा रहा है. He's not able to do 2 2s are 4. So he doesn't know he really likes maths or not, but when he goes to market, he knows what to buy for himself, what is the latest trend. I see children are critically doing so well on mobiles, but as a teachers, we are not able to give them direction. People say, these are the COVID hit children. I say, no, they are not the COVID hit children. We have failed to maneuver their potentiality during that time. How many of us really worked as a parents on, what needs to be done for a growing child? What needs to be done for a class 3 grade? We did not give them exposure. We said, I'm cooking in the kitchen, you also come along and cook. I'm doing gardening, you also do gardening. But none of us realized what they really wanted. So I think an art is existing in our system. It always existed in the curriculum. It's just getting conscious about it. And I think more important, the mentors. The mentors need to learn that STEM existed there. STEM is still existing there. Art existed there. It would still existing there. Now we have to bring it to a point where we can make our children develop innovative techniques. They can think critically. As honestly telling you, I'll portray an example. I don't have a science background, right? And when Chandigarh started working on PISA, I hope you all are aware of it. So I was asked to give a presentation of the scientific literacy. And I was like, I am an art teacher. But when I read the whole document, I realized it had nothing to do about science. It was all about the pedagogy. It was all about the various aspects of the cognition of the child that we have to ignite. So if you say it was science and we brought in, art into it, yes, we did. But the kind of art which we brought into it, you will be happy to know, Chandigarh has written 62 comics based upon the curriculums. We call it a joyful learning, Harshit Ho Seekhe. There are almost 62, the volumes which have been created, which are linked with the technology. Children click on that, link, go on MCQs and they attempt it. There is no grading, nothing of the sort. And then children are asked to create some kind of posters, bring it to the class. We have pushed children to think, that if you are being taught water in the class, we are not going to talk water. We are going to create pictures out of it. So when teacher puts all this in a lesson plan, the teacher needs to be taught how to make it interesting integration into the subject. So when a poor teacher is asked to integrate, I was laughing to my teachers today that if you ask me, ki, ma'am, you are an economics teacher, integrate art into, economics. So I think I told them I would also have the same blunder like you are doing it. We'll say, ma'am, we'll do a drama, we'll do this and we'll do that. I said, there is a talk also. There is a communication also. It's about picking up the right words and having some kind of pronunciation about economics, something about you like that aspect of the chapter, you pick it up and then you grade and integrate with that. I think more than art, the teacher needs to understand to integrate it. I think Richa ji would agree. We all are grown-ups. We have all lived our moments. Now we have to make those our children. Now comes another issue in that. That is the kind of exposure we had to ourselves. Our children don't have. We are living we were living horizontally. Children are living in the vertical system. So they don't have happy places. They don't have happy classrooms. So I think the role of the stakeholder, that is a parent, needs to be brought in. So when we talked about Harshit Ho Sikhe, we did the YouTube streaming with stakeholders online. About 20,000 people from Chandigarh had logged in. And we did this program over 4 days, the English, the reading competency, the scientific and the mathematical, the numeracy. So we tried and link all the various aspects of art to that. We did not create scientific parks or we did nothing. It was, we wrote certain poetries, if you know the haiku, the chemistry poetry is written, all chemistry chapters are written in the Japanese, the haiku way of writing the poetry. So we tried and follow that, and we asked our music teacher to usko nibandh karne ke liye, create a composition of it. And while she did it, children were singing in the class. Oh my God, they had learned equations at that time. So we experimented with class 6 because that is quite an important age for a child. So if you push a child into that age, that you can create something out of it. We don't have our display boards, which are formal display boards. We only tell our teachers, ask children to create, ask children to write with the colored pencils, and that should be the display board in the class. And one work has to be done by the teacher, and that should be the role model. Don't tell them whether it's good or a bad, and let children brainstorm. And creating an art is giving a creative thought of a child of doing the thing. If it's a very famous thing. Whenever somebody asks, "Aapko painting aata hai?" To everybody makes a hut and a bird and the river or some well is being made. What's that? We were never asked to explore our creativity, not at all. So I think we need to give a lot of independence to child, of being judgmental and grading them on the paper. We should see where the child was and where the child is. Their grading should be according to that. It shouldn't be A, B, C, D. We should be that Anuja was at 30 and she's made it to 45 with certain checklists. It should not be graded one. And I think we can make Anuja 90 because of her effort. I think we need to give more importance to the effort of a child rather than judging that Anuja sings the best. तो बेस्ट रहेंगे हमेशा. तो कहाँ पे क्रिएटिविटी गई हमारे, कहाँ पे बच्चे का ब्रेन चर्नर गया, where has the child thought how to do it? 90% of the children, I remember my daughter was, when she was in class 4, she learns the school song overnight and she doesn't sleep in an excitement that I'm going to be a part of a choir tomorrow. And I remember when she comes back and I said, did teacher listen? She said, yes. I said, oh, you have memorized it so well. So I could gather something, that she was talking about her rote learning, but she was not talking about the skill, that she well. So day 2, day 3, and day 4. And by day 6, my daughter was saying, so what, if my friends are in the choir, don't stop asking me, Mom, whether I'm there or not. So I could see that pain and I could feel that she was one step backward to singing. And, I told you, myself being the gold medalist, I always felt, why doesn't my daughter sing? Till the time I realized, I have a psychologist friend who said, why are you pushing into, STEM like of a thing, realize her potential. Who's going to realize the potential of a child? Expectations of the parents and acceptability of the teacher in the class, because she wants every child to be 90% and above. She wants every child to be 60% and above. I tell you, honestly telling you, I've worked with the government schools in Chandigarh, amazing children, because they're not being judged at home. I think if they're able to write CAT, their parents are more than happy. And what projects they create best out of waste, what, you give them any kind of project to be done with the hand. I think they are best at their mental mathematics. They are best in, measuring whether it's 1 kg or whether it's a half kg. And look at our children. We tell them to please come to kitchen, and wo measuring scale se bhi nahi kar pate. So I think my submission of what you asked, STEM is very, very important, and so is an art. All we need to understand the role of developing critical and creative thinking of a child with the help of art integrated curriculum. And that curriculum, CBSE has beautifully supported with so many documents across. All that we need is that our teachers, our parents, and our students, they need to know, even the leaders need to know where those documents are. I think just going through those documents, just reading through those documents, we can really achieve Gurukuls again in India. All we need is a Shanti Niketan in every school. All we need is a small Gurukul in a school, and you can find art everywhere. So thank you so much. And I would like to contribute more if we have a time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'll definitely get back to you. Two particular things stood out, ma'am. Today, when we're talking about art integration, having a speaker who herself holds ranks both in music as well as economics definitely adds to it. Ma'am, the second thing, when you said best out of waste in the context of Chandigarh, what that city has to present in terms of best out of waste, I think has wowed the entire world. So we are not very surprised. Mr. Chatterjee, sir, if I may come to you next. I understand we had lost you due to connectivity for a bit. So the question that we are generally discussing is in terms of the importance of art education, right? Is it where we want it to be, or are we getting there? Mr. Chatterjee, sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, just a minute. Just
Sure.
a minute. Actually, there is a little bit problem over here.
Not a problem, sir. Please take your time.
Yeah.
Can I add something? Few lines till the time. See, I personally feel, education is a journey. It's not, a destination. And art changes its forms. So I personally feel, as far as the education is concerned,
Yeah, I got it.
If sir is ready, please over to sir.
No, please continue, ma'am.
Yeah.
It's nice to hear from you.
I personally feel where it should be and where it is. I think the merging is already taking place, as I told you. The subset, the integrating curriculum with art is already taking place. All we need to gear up ourselves and fasten our belts, and we have to update. Mentors have to update it first. They need to learn the psychology of a child. They need to learn, master their subjects through the various skills. And I think CBSE is doing amazing work through the capacity building programs. Thank you. I think it's a journey. It would continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shubhayu. And it's really a privilege and an honor for me to listen to Dr. Richa, Dr. Anuja, Mr. Philip, and Mr. Achin Bhattacharyya. So, the first point is that art was there, art is now, art will be forever. Because behind every invention, there was an imagination. Imagination is required. And it is the art what gives the imagination. So without imagination or without art, I can say in another way, in another word, without the proper innovative imagination, invention is not possible. So behind every science, there is art. You cannot deny the fact, the importance of art in every, that means I will say every way of your life. Just see, this is just we are about to overcome the pandemic situation. There was the virologist, those who have really played a very beautiful role. But virologists, what they did, they have to understand the situation, the biology of that particular area, the geography of that particular area, then think critically, analyze, and accordingly they have made so many vaccines and so many suggestions and so many different things for us. Where this imagination and information came from? These are all came from arts oriented subjects. So art integrated learning, or with any other learning, art is as important as anything can be. Albert Einstein once said, the greatest scientists are the artists as well. And Leonardo da Vinci are the most, I will say, the remarkable example in this field. Leonardo da Vinci was out and out an artist, is known for, but basically he was an engineer. And he is the first man who has designed the aeroplane. So free thinking ability and imagination can only give birth the realistic scientific invention. This is the first point. Second thing is that it is the demand of the 21st century learning and from the learners that the child should be an all-rounder. Because everywhere, in every company, even if it is a corporate company or throughout the world, the people are asking for a person who is capable of solving the various kinds of problems. That means a good problem solver, a good critical thinker. And this critical thinking and problem solving, I will say, nature and expression will come from only art oriented subjects. The third thing is that art integrated learning is the best way, because if we mix art with the, I will say, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, the learning would be much more, I will say, joyful. What is the purpose of our, that means education? The purpose of education is to enlighten our inner mind, to brighten our soul, thinking ability, and enjoy. Unless and until we enjoy our learning and our knowledge, we cannot implement our learning in a proper way, in a proper dimension. So that is why we, the principal, there are so many principals are there. Dr. Richa is there. Dr. Anuja is also here. They also will admit that the children, and Dr. Richa was rightly said that when we used to give the, that means this art-oriented classes to the children, it may be physical education, it may be, that means dance, it may be so many, so on and so forth. The people, the children enjoy the most. They started shouting, wow, now it is our activity class. So that means if our motive, if our motto is to entertain the children while they are learning, or let them to learn with the entertainment. So art integrated learning is most important. And it is really, I thankful to CBSE, because it is, once again, I will say, it was there, but they rediscover the importance of art nowadays. And that is why in our curriculum, in recently NEP system of learning, that means new education policy or national education policy, whatever the name you can take, they have involved art oriented learning in such a way that yes, people should enjoy, and as well as they should get the benefit of getting learning from the art integrated learning. This is the most important thing. And for the 21st century learners, you know very well, they have to have the ability of problem solving attitude. They have to have the ability to cope with the situation, to that means impose their imaginative creativity. Where they will get all these things? They will get all these things from the art itself only. Art is not only for art's sake, Madam Richa, I'm sorry to controversy. And art is not only for art's sake, art is for life's sake. So I hope I able to made it understandable that yes, the importance of art education at present time and for the 21st century learner. Yes, it is over to you, Subayu.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for that. And it's great to have consensus between all three of you. So here is where I get to play the devil's advocate, right? Currently, the most groundbreaking thing that is happening in art is NFT, non-fungible tokens, being created by computer coders using blockchain technology. So is creativity an innate ability that we are relating to arts, or is arts in education necessary to hone creativity? Dr. Prakash, if I may come to you first.
See, I think it is, it cannot be once again put in silos. Why do we have to always have a binary? Why can't it be a multi-log or, not just a dialogue and one monologue? So, both are working sort of together. There is a constant interaction and because you see, they are just totally inseparable. It is, art is in itself, every bit of it, every day we are into creativity. Every day food is made, food is prepared. So food is a very living form of, creativity. Every time it's prepared, from, the breakfast to the snacking to the dinner, it's a creativity which can be judged and observed whether, there was more salt, there was less this. So similarly, arts needs to, we need to understand that it is honing of creativity, and as well as, who are the people who are working on this technology. It is a human brain. It is not just the machine itself. It is somebody who is working on it, and that is the brain. And that brain, as Mr. Burrett and Anuja ma'am also mentioned, that brain has both components. The left is analytical, the right is creative and imaginative. So it's the amalgamation, the synthesis of both of them, which would, be able to bring about, even if it is, it is, done through the NFT, but then, the main force behind is the human ability to create, to be able to develop and evolve, to start from where it has already come to go to another level of, or distinctive design making. It is like I remember some years back, when I was first introduced to the idea of, graphic design. It was it was almost 2 decades back. So I was I came in interacted with a person who was into graphic design. And to tell you the truth, it was just so outlandish for me. I just didn't feel that it is the right thing to happen. It took me some time to adjust to this entire idea of, things being done through the computers, because you see, human beings are more about the connect. It is about the bonding. So creativity can be honed, and creativity anyways emerges from the human brain, who is then operating the machine and is developing those machines. So I think, the main thing here, as ma'am had also mentioned earlier, is that we need to bring in the emphasis to the parents, make them understand that, creativity is not a standalone thing. If you're creative, doesn't mean that you have to be an artist. It is on a daily basis that we are, living a life which is about aesthetics, which is about creativity, which is, a school which is constructed. It has all, steam, everything is there in it. Construction of a school is about aesthetics. It's about, science. It's about technology. Construction of a house we live in, a house we see, a house we appreciate. So everything is about the symmetry, and art is about creation, and that creation could be also through the machines. And but then after all, it is the human brain which is able to evolve as an artist, where we are looking at making life of so many people easier, more aesthetically beautiful. So that's what I think I would like to put across.
Wonderful, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for that. As I said in the beginning, this is where I get to play the devil's advocate. I've essentially painted a huge bullseye on myself, and you get to shoot me down. Anuja, ma'am, if I may come to you next. Ma'am, you'll have to unmute yourself, please.
I have to speak on the same point.
Yes, ma'am. The same question that.
Richa also said it. The brain is a muscle, so it can be developed. So they say the mind is a fixed mind or a growth mindset. So I think we all need to accept and understand that the mind is a growth mindset. Yes, how much it can be developed, there is a range, probability range to that. So am I audible?
Ma'am, yes, ma'am. We can hear you fine. Your video seems to be a little choppy.
Oh, okay. So I personally feel that creativity, it is lying within ourselves. So even if there is a beggar, he's not able to make a good life for himself, he is creative enough to create some environment for himself in which he can beg and impress people. You talk of a transgender. We say that they don't fit into society, but they are creative in their own ways, that they are able to earn their livelihood. It's only that we have to tap the potential, the potential of creativity of a human being. And I still very firmly believe that we have to develop a self-esteem and a self-awareness of a child. Breaking with him or just shouting at him at an early age and discouraging him of certain things would not make his mind grow. So thus, I would rest my case by saying that creativity can be, I won't say the superimposed, can be part of a conscious development of a personality to some percentage. Singers are born, they cannot be made. The teachers are born, they cannot be made. But still, people have an option. First option is to become doctors. They end up doing MSc and they, end up being good researchers. They end up being a good violinist, being part of some groups. So I think creativity is within us. All we need is to, develop a few skills in children, which happens from an early age of age 3 to age 9. And then you see children coming to class 6, 7, 8, 9. They would have a confident communication with their teachers, and the dropout numbers are going to reduce. I think the best part CBSE has done, our new education policy has done to us, is to formalize integration, art integration into our curriculum, because we are able to convince, work along with our stakeholders to make this journey of learning more joyful. So I firmly believe creativity needs to be created among children. जितना भी है, 30 को 35 बना सकते हैं, 40 को 60 भी बना सकते हैं, जिसमें 60 है उसको 90 भी बना सकते हैं, पर बना सकते हैं. So let's do it. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Mr. Chatterjee, sir, if I may come to you, the same question. Are we talking about teaching an innate skill?
Sorry?
Are we talking about teaching an innate skill?
Yeah. Will you please repeat again? It is not audible properly.
Sir, I was saying that we are discussing how creativity is perhaps an innate skill.
Yeah.
Perhaps, as Anuja ma'am said,
Yeah.
With an incremental move.
Yeah. Actually, creativity is the one part of human instinct. By birth, every individual human, they have some creativity. But the thing is that how we will nurture this creativity, that is the main issue. All people are creative. Just see, imaginative and as well as creative. But how we will focus their imagination and creativity and channelize their creativity, that is the main question. Because every scientist, or maybe every people of science can never be the scientist or maybe the inventor. All right. Why Sir Isaac Newton started thinking that why the apple was falling? So this is the creative thinking, and this creativity, it was the spontaneous, automatic. But if as a teacher, we start developing and nurturing this creativity in a various way, through various fields, it may be dance, it may be song, it may be physical education, it may be drama, it may be speech, it may be debate, extempore, or whatever it is, or language, any way. So we have to understand that creativity is very much human, but in our school, we have to nurture every child's creativity in a different way. And then only the creativity will be nurtured. And that, as madam said, that 60 can be made 90, 10 can be made 30. So that means we know very well that creativity can be increased, though it is very, that means by birth, we have the creativity, but it can, I will say, it can be increased, it can be nurtured, it can be polished, and then only we will get a very good citizen for our coming future. So that is why this nurturing and as well as praising the children, whatever they are doing, creative thinking, creative artistic doing, all these things we have to all the time encourage them, so that they feel something better, relaxed, as well as their creativity will also will grow, and as well as they will increase their creativity, and then only we will get a very good citizen, 100% all-round citizen, I will say.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you so much for that. It's just 6:30. We have barely made it at the nick of time, and I must thank all of you once again for this absolutely enlightening discussion. I personally have learned so much. If I have to quickly do a sum up, we have understood that children are creative by nature. Perhaps over the years, the needs of livelihood, the parents have started living vicariously through their children, and therefore pushing them towards more science stream approaches of engineering or medical. And we've also discussed how everything, be it science, medical, engineering, or anything to do with creativity, actually stems from arts thinking or growth mindset, as ma'am said. We have also discussed how art for art's sake, art for life's sake, both can be possible options. Dr. Prakash, thank you so much for all the Latin quotes. My collection of Latin quotes goes back to Asterix and that Asterix comics, and that's about it. Once again, thank you so much for making the time to be here today. Thank you all, Burrett sir, Anuja ma'am, Richa ma'am, and Suman sir. Thank you so much for being here. It's been an absolute privilege hosting all of you.
Thank you. It's a mutual
Thank you,
learning.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
So much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Richa
Thank you.
and
Thank
Mr.
you.
Roy and Mr. Chatterjee. Thank you.
Thank you,
for
madam.
inviting
Thank
me.
you, all of you.
Thank you,
And
everyone.
learn.
Thank you, everyone who joined in as participants also. Thank you.
Thank you.
To the members in the audience, thank you so much for being with us yet for one more webinar. We will see you soon again. Before that, I'll leave you with a little bit about myself. My brain has two halves. The right has nothing left in it, and the left has nothing right in it. We'll see you soon in our next episode. Until then, please take care, stay safe, and goodbye.
We can leave now. We can leave.
Yes, ma'am, surely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.